A game like RuneScape really doesn't come around very often. We may have won awards in the past, but every time we update, it feels like we're back at the start. It's a new game.
And because we launch content every single week, every week's like a massive journey for us. That excitement, that kind of passion that we have within the building for our game and our community comes back every single week.
Thousands and millions of players come to interact with each other and also to explore.
RuneScape is a huge, massive world.
There's always something new in the game, there's something always different, there's something changing, there's always something happening.
Whether it be something from combat, whether it's a new quest, every week a new update goes into the game.
No one else does this, and it allows us to create a game which is really rich, really compelling and really full of content. We're able to satisfy different types of players. We're able to give them new challenges and new adventures.
You are part of one big living organism. You just look away for 1 week and come back, and something different is there, something has changed. It kind of draws you back. You want to find out how things have progressed. And certainly in terms of story, that's very true. So RuneScape is set in a fantastical medieval world in which gods have been banished, but they're still trying to get back into the world, and humanity is constantly pushing them back and trying to keep the world from themselves.
You've got orcs, goblins, elves, you've got creatures made of lava, all sorts of different things going on at the same time. Quests weave together like a kind of rich patchwork. It's almost as though you're kind of holding up one of those old quilts that your granny had, and all the different squares of fabrics are individual stories that exist within RuneScape. We've got central characters that pop up throughout the game, each with their own motivations, their own objectives, and we kind of allow each story to kind of sprinkle a little bit of each other on all of the other stories that we have within the game.
One of the core emotions that we really try to engender in a player is humour. We try to make them laugh. It's really at the core of RuneScape. It's very easy to take that comedy and turn it into tragedy, to take it into an adventure in very much an Indiana Jones style.
Players of RuneScape really kind of like buy into the story and the lore of the game. Their feedback is incredibly passionate, and sometimes that actually influences the quests that we write in the future. If people feel really involved with the quest, they write to us, they tell us about it, they decide whether they like the character, whether they hate the character, and then we'll take that on board, and quite often, yeah, we'll steer a story in a direction that we think is going to stir the players up. We can change things on the fly, and that's quite an exciting prospect.
To make a storyline really immersive and grabbing, we always make sure that the player is at the real focus of that story. So you have a group of 6 characters that internally we're calling the signature heroes. These are characters that work as your allies as you play through story content. You get to know them, you get to find out their history, but you also get to determine their futures. We have released some quests called the Ozan quest and some quests called the Ariane quest, which is about a player joining a guild effectively. And we plan to let that player be the leader of that guild by the end of the storyline.
There's a character to suit every single player.
Ozan, who's our lovable rogue, takes you on a very deep experience of the game.
He's a heroic character with a cheeky side to him, and I think that's something that the players can really relate to, you know. He's not a two-dimensional character, he has depth to him.
You also get to make some choices about Ozan himself. Is he a likeable character? Is he a character that you don't like?
This gave us a really good opportunity to build an environment that would be suitable for Ozan to move about in and really sort of show off his roguish side, his agility, and also just to sort of play on the whole Eastern Lands feel as well.
Really proud of our story. It's rich, it's engaging, it's a kind of a labour of love for a lot of our developers. But it's in the game design where we're really pushing innovation and accessibility.
This year we've introduced a major new piece of content which gets people really into the heart of the lore and the storyline of the game very quickly, but also gives a really good tutorial that allows you to understand some of the basic elements of the game.
And it'll allow them to see all of the best bits of RuneScape, all of the best aspects of RuneScape, and allow them to create a character, create their avatar, create their experience, where they'll be able to then take on and enjoy RuneScape and all that it has to offer.
You land in a place called Berthorpe, and you're met by Ozan. He will lead you through your first few steps into RuneScape.
Rather than focusing on particular types of gamers, we focus on making quality content that appeals to huge amounts of people.
There are so many different types of players out there. It's finding the content that each of those players likes and trying to give something to each of them. We're always experimenting with new different types of content, new types of gameplay, new systems.
There's so many factors you've got to think about. You've got to think about the player, the community. What are they going to think of it? You've got to think about the balance of the game in terms of economy. You've got to think of the balance in terms of, is this item too powerful? Is it not powerful enough?
The combat system is the biggest update we have introduced to RuneScape in 2012. It's all about giving the player a brand new interaction with RuneScape. It just looks phenomenal, you know, it's completely engaging. You're doing special moves, you're building up abilities over time.
It allows you to mix up styles. You can have a scimitar in one hand, a crossbow in the other, so you can dual wield weapons of different classes.
And when you combine that with really strong storylines, it creates like the full kind of gaming experience. It's a full adventure.
RuneScape's game design for me in the future is going to focus more. It's going to be more driven. We've got an idea, we've got an emotion that we want to generate in the player over the coming year, and we know exactly how we're going to do that. If there's one thing that brings the story and the strong game design together, it's the voice acting, the orchestral sounds, the fantastic audio that we use. It really brings the technical and the immersive together.
And the audio department we have at Jagex is amazing. They managed to create all those quality sounds, the voices, the environments, the different sound effects that we have in the game, and tie that all up with the amazing technical know-how that they have to cram it all into a browser game like ours.
It's really important to capture the right sounds for RuneScape. We really want the player to feel immersed into the environment, to feel like they're part of a living world.
Because RuneScape is such a huge game, we've got such a huge amount of styles to cover.
We have over 30,000 sound effects, 1,500 pieces of music, and we're trying to voice over 5,000 characters. It's a massive job.
You can completely change the feel by the kind of music that you use. It really becomes a big part of the storylines as well. Helps to sell the characters and the environments you're in, and it makes a huge difference to the feel of the game.
We start the audio process really early on. We speak to the designers, we capture game footage, we think about the immersion and mood of the quest itself, and we really try and get into the moment. With the recent quests such as Ozan in Al Kharid, we use inspirations such as Marrakesh for the rooftops and finding live musicians that can play unusual instruments.
I was responsible for mapping different sounds on different levels, on the rooftops, making sure that there was wind and you could hear distant crowds with people sort of laughing and singing in the background and stuff like that. I get to work really closely with the designers and developers, and when they write interesting storylines, it really fires me up to do interesting audio and to be passionate about it.
So 2013 is going to be an incredible year for RuneScape. We've got some of our biggest initiatives that we've ever done. We're looking at new platforms, we're looking at very serious content updates that are going to really change the way that people interact with the game. And we're looking at technology advances that are going to massively improve the graphics and kind of change and improve the way that people play the game and interact with it.
There's so much in RuneScape that keeps people coming back.
Players are extremely passionate.
And that's why RuneScape's the world's greatest adventure.